You're listening to Design Between the Lines, the only design and home furnishings podcast where we talk with the movers and shakers, industry innovators, and lifetime legends of the home furnishings industry. It's here that I get a chance to sit and chat with the influencers shaping the industry into what it is today. This episode of Design Between the Lines is presented by International Market Centers. IMC is the world's largest operator of premier space for the furniture, gift, home decor, rug, and apparel industries, and operates nearly 20 million square feet of world-class exhibition space in High Point, Atlanta, and Las Vegas. Surrounded by natural Alaskan beauty, designers Jeremy Bauer and Jason Clifton work masterfully to transform environments through a holistic and thorough approach. As well as co-owning a successful design business, Jason is also currently the National Vice President of the Interior Design Society, which connects a vibrant network of designers across the industry. Through IDS, they have won the 2016 Designer of the Year award. I'm sitting here with Jeremy and Jason in High Point at the market, where we'll discuss all things design today. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
First off, we'll think kind of way back when, think about inspiration, kind of what got you here. I'd love to hear what attracted each of you to the world of design, where you are today. What attracted you to start that path?
Well, I think I'm as far back as I can remember. It was all about design. I mean, when my friends were watching cartoons, I was watching Bob Vila on Saturday mornings.
Yeah.
And it just, it was something I couldn't.
Just naturally ingrained, essentially. And I just a natural passion from the very beginning. So whether it was home time or this old house, onto, receiving my first drafting table for Christmas at the age of 9, it's just always been a part of me.
And you had a great support then at home. That sounds great with that. Were there any inspirations along the way for you? Any biggest inspirations you could think of in your pathway?
I think my mom, was a huge inspiration. She took such care the way she designed her house, and she took that time to redesign it a lot too. So it was kind of a seasonal redesign that I think I took notes from, and she taught me a lot about balance and how she could create these vignettes in her house. It was really kind of fun to think back about.
And for myself, I would say it was around 6th grade or so, to where my family, they basically went through a major renovation, in addition to our family home. And so it was really interesting to be a part of that process and to live on site throughout that, and to, kind of be that backseat driver of the architect that they had hired. And
That's a great age, because you're like a sponge absorbing all of that. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. What an opportunity at that age. Early mentors, any mentors along the way up, even to today? Are there people that you, inspire you, or still you aspire to be or be like in the industry or otherwise?
Well, when we first joined forces back in 2005, 2006, I was obviously pretty new to the scene. And so Jeremy served as a mentor, and, as far as just passing down some of the just design principles that we still work with today.
And then, growing up, I was surrounded by my grandparents. I spent a lot of time with them, and both my grandfathers were very involved in the building industry. And so that was something I think that I was constantly paying attention to what they were doing and hanging around their shops and, just kind of trying to absorb,
So Jeremy, are you a hands-on kind of person in terms of tools and stuff?
Yeah. When I was younger, I was constantly building things. My mom even has pictures of me when I decided I was done living at the house and I was going to go build my own house. And so I started to go tear apart the barn to take out wood of the barn to go start building my own house. And I got as far as basically building a foundation formed, and that was about as far as I got.
That's as far as,
the sun's going down. I think I'm going to move back in.
Well, sometimes practicality jumps into the picture, doesn't it? Well, how does design influence the day-to-day quality of people's lives, in your opinion? We're talking about how it influenced you all as you were growing up and coming to this stage in your lives. How do you feel it influences people's lives in their day-to-day world now? I know it's intrinsic to how you do your thing.
I think it's a part of every single thing that anyone does or touches or addresses in their lives. So, from the toothbrush to the vehicle to the phone, I mean, design is an integral part of all of these components.
And it heavily affects convenience, its organization. It's just it's a lifestyle that adds that comfortability. It adds relaxation.
And if it doesn't, that's when you notice that it is a perhaps a poor design or a design that could be improved upon. And so we can all recognize those, but those truly successful designs to where they're just natural or fluid,
effortless, yeah.
I mean, and effortless, you don't even really pay much attention to those.
Well, you brought up that's a good subject about environment and lifestyle. How has the environment and lifestyle influenced your design? Because I know you're up in what we call it a remote part of the country. You may call High Point a remote part of the country. I'm sure some people do. You're there. You have a design company there. I'm sure your beautiful environment has an effect on your clients' lives, and you want it to have an effect on their lives. So how do you feel that influences your design, your style, what you do?
I mean, I think it really affects, some of the color choices that we make. I think, we wouldn't bring those bright Palm Springsy colors into Juneau. That just, it doesn't work. They don't look right there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what you find is that our colors are a little more subdued. There's a great relationship between indoor and exterior, interior and exterior in that. And then I think when you see some of the materials that we pick, the natural materials, we're instantly inspired by these beautiful stones that are out there, the woods. We don't really go to that really techy, plasticky, shiny, glossy. It's much more warm and rich.
Mm-hmm. From aesthetic standpoint, and then for functionality, it's important and imperative, basically, that our designs are functional for the long term. And so many of our clients, they are super active outdoors. And so whether it's hiking, biking, fishing,
Skiing.
so forth and so on, we have, being up in Alaska, there's a ton of natural elements that you have to contend with. And so each one of the materials that we work with need to withstand and uphold against such
So that's
ongoing
really
abuse.
essentially what you're striving for to communicate with your designs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think all those things that Jason just mentioned, they also have gear that's associated with it, and why we would love to design this beautiful foyer that someone would walk into. We know that there's all this gear that has to go somewhere, and so we have to kind of think about our designs to be able to accommodate that. And so it's not like we can just avoid that and say we don't want it. It's there. We have to deal with it, and it's part of the design.
Well, speaking of that, in your minds, Jeremy and Jason, what equates to excellence or excellent design in your mind? What equates to that? What do you see as an excellent design? We mentioned you easily can realize there's dissonance or something not going on correctly with a design when you see a place that you have been hired to do something with.
Mm-hmm.
What do you equate excellence in a design?
I think it's when you look at a whole project, it comes down to, in any one element of design, it's balance to me. I mean, if you're looking at lighting, it's about the highlights and low lights. It's about textures of something that's heavily textured to something reflective, and I think when all of those things are just right in a room, it's good design.
It's finding that optimal balance between form and function.
That's where it is.
Mm-hmm.
No, I totally agree.
The path in which we all strive to achieve.
Well, now that brings me to the question of striving pathways here.
Mm-hmm.
What do you feel what is your design process? And it may be two different design processes that blend so well together to create this great business that you have now. What do you feel your process is? How do you approach
Well,
a
we're
project?
a bit unique in that Jeremy's background is in architecture and engineering, and then mine is in interior design. So it's a great combination in how we influence one another and balance one another out. And so with that, as far as our techniques and our process, I would say we come away from each client meeting with completely different information for the most part, or perception of what they may need.
It's crazy what our takeaways are at a meeting. They're the client saying the same words, but when we get in the car and drive away, it's like oh, we have to do this, and Jason's, no, we have to do this. It's just like he's hearing one thing and seeing one set of issues that we're trying to solve. I'm seeing a completely different set of issues that we're trying to solve. And so what I think what it does, it's a very intuitive process from that point on of each one of our
renditions, everything else. So we, return to the office or to our own offices and then come together, presenting our own conceptual ideas. And if we're on par, which typically we are, it's great. And if we're not, then we design with conviction. Yeah. So
that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
And that's typically a sign in which, we need to step back and reassess each of our designs to ensure that we're actually meeting the client's needs at that point.
Which is kind of describing my next question, which was, what's a day in your life like these days? I know what it was like in your airplane flights. We just heard that.
Yes.
That was a long day.
It was.
But what is a day in your life like these days with your business ongoing? I believe you just added another business. Did I read
Yes.
that?
Yeah. We recently launched our sister company, which is a floral studio, Frenchie's Floral.
I love that name. That's great.
Named after our French bulldogs.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
I think I have a couple of friends in town here who have 2 French bulldogs as well that you may or may not know, but we'll talk about that later. But I love French bulldogs. So you got a big fan right here. So the names?
Gracie and Georgie. Yeah,
fantastic.
So George and Gracie, essentially.
George and Gracie, exactly. Yeah. Say goodnight, Gracie.
Exactly.
Totally got that. So let's talk about iconic designers that you may have gotten influenced by, or you aspire to what they're doing. You like what they're doing. You're kind of a fan. I mean, who are you a fan of these days? What?
I think mine can
besides yourself.
Yeah, right.
I'm a fan of yours.
To architecture, and I think it was Frank Lloyd Wright that probably has one of the largest influences in my personal style, the way I like to organize a plan, to the way I like to see materials interjected into the spaces and their relation to exterior and interior.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was so far ahead of his time. I think I've just really looked to him as someone to be inspired by.
Mm-hmm. And I find constant inspiration from fellow designers of all different styles, basically, and regions in which, we typically are not aligned with ourselves, but ranging from, obviously Tom Felicia, he has an amazing career to aspire for, and just a great person all around. Then our good friend Shayla Kopis, who's based out of Little Rock, Arkansas, and just, the Southern glam touch, in which it's complete opposite from what we work with on a daily basis, but it's a complete appreciation for what they do.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. This comes to the point that I when friends of mine have a glass of wine with my friends and we talk about careers and we talk about, and yours is a young one, but we talk about greatest successes and some not so great opportunities that went south or whatever, west. Greatest successes. Have you got any on your mind recently that occurred and you went, wow, it's a wow. Can't believe this all came together? Or anything recently?
We've had, in the last couple of years, there's one particular project that I was very proud of. The way we came together was it's a rather large home, and the client's very. We had a really great client meeting. It lasted hours. The stories we got into it, really understanding, and this was their forever home. And so, listening to these stories and how important growing up on the farm and some of these little tidbits that we took away and interjected and back into the project. But one in particular, the space was the client was a lover of baskets. And Jason and I were in the office. It's about 2:00 in the morning. We're a couple days out from, the big presentation, and I'm looking in the foyer, and it's a round shape. And I'm trying to figure out what am I putting in there for a floor texture? And I'm working with designs and going back and forth and just not getting anywhere with the wood layout. And then went to the island there in our office and just happened to turn the basket over and looked at the bottom of the basket and saw how the different square reeds were woven in there. And I was like, oh, that's perfect. And so jumped back into AutoCAD and then actually designed a round form of installation for this basket weave. And so the wood, it looks like a basket woven wood floor.
Beautiful.
It was stunning.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And it's really been something that has gotten a lot of attention. press-wise and just personally, just a lot of people, once they see that space, the round room, yeah, that's been our iconic piece.
Well, congratulations on that.
And I would say my most recent one is really just taking a step back and surveying where we've come and what we've achieved and the teams that we have built and just those lasting relations that have taken place. And, the culture not only at Bauer Clifton Interiors, but then also at Frenchie's Floral Studio and how that's really developed. It's special to be a part of.
All right, I'm going to change the title of failures and I'm going to make it learning experience. Any learning experience you might relate to us that you went, okay, learn something from that.
Absolutely. I would say the value of delegation and delegating to your teams and, onboarding, whether it's however large your firm may be or boutique style, even if you're a single person, within your firm, the value of hiring an assistant. I mean, just those details. And the sooner that you're able to give up and release the control, the better that the overall process will be.
Well put.
I think, let me think about how I'm going to phrase this answer, but it's the failure of recognizing when failures happen, and instead of where I may have been more reactionary when I saw something happy in the office that wasn't going right, my biggest takeaway has been to turn those around into learning experiences and not
for the entire team.
Yeah, exactly, and really to try to use that as an educational aspect of growth.
To both your credit, that's really, if you listed 10 points for a leader, that's number one. To be able to do that and to your entire team. I think that's a great motivation and congratulations to both of you on that. That's what's wonderful. Wonderful. Now I've got this, we'll call it pulling from the ether, this question that's about to come. In your opinion, here we go. How is design shifting to accommodate today's consumer? It's a different consumer out there these days, and you're changing all the time, but there's definitely a consumer trend. How is design shifting to accommodate today's consumer? It's a deep question.
It is.
Let me tweak it a bit. Is investing in the experience of home an idea whose time has come? The word experience, this is not just my home, it's really what makes me happy.
And yeah, we share that value essentially, especially with our backgrounds in event design and everything else. I mean, every aspect of returning home or to your office or to your business, should be something that you completely relish and just enjoy the entire time.
And I think we're seeing clients not demanding that, but yearning for that, that experience too. We have a couple projects right now that it's not even, sometimes projects are price driven. You get people that are just constantly, well, how much is that going to cost? How much is that going to cost? We actually have this one right now that's, what's that going to make me feel like when that's in the room? And it's just like, it's such a wonderful feeling to have a client there that is so excited about knowing what this is going to do for them. From the door handle, talking about the texture of that. Is it going to be warm or going to be cold? If it's steel, it's going to be cold. If it's a leather wrap, it's going to be warm. And to have those type of conversations and to have someone appreciate that, it has been just an amazing experience.
Wow. That's a wow. That's a wow moment. Wow. I'm going to ask you a question. You mentioned event planning. I didn't know that. I read your bio and stuff, and you guys, you've done some event planning. And I think you're involving yourselves in some hospitality work as well.
Yes.
Do those two kind of marry to each other every so often? You're basically planning a space for a large group of people that have never been there before coming in. If it's a hospitality, a resort, a hotel, or whatever, you find those two affecting each other. Your experience event planning overlapping into, hey, we can do this, and this is really how we create their experience.
Yeah, it definitely does. And you kind of answered it yourself just in saying that. It's the fact that we are designing for an experience where but it's in hospitality. It's that experience is done over and over and over again daily. And so, for event design, it might be for 1 or 2 nights, and in hospitality, we're doing that same thing, but it's set on a stage where it's just going to be on repeat.
But the ultimate goal is still to create that stage to where it's excuse me, a departure from just normal everyday life, essentially. And so whether it's like a weekend fundraising event to a restaurant or bar, I mean, we consistently get a comment back to where, if people are attending a salt restaurant, for instance, and it just feels like a departure from Juneau, Alaska, essentially, and it feels as though they're in another
mini
location.
vacation. There you go. Yeah. That's wonderful. That's great. That's what we all want to have. I think we all want to have a mini vacation,
Right?
Maybe every day if we can.
Seriously.
Well, we finally come to something, and this is for students of design that are listening to our podcast or watching it on our YouTube channel. What is your advice to students and maybe even to professionals about this career, about our industry? What's your advice to them? What should they be looking to do next? I mean, especially, let's say a student that might be listening to this podcast and they're freshmen in college or trying to decide which way do I want to go? Any advice for them?
Well, really take advantage of the opportunity for internships to explore those areas of interest that, may prove to be the true interest and passion, or may just be a passing hobby, perhaps. But I would say my largest takeaway and advice is to don't feel as though you have to go to any one of these larger cities or meccas, essentially. I mean, design is needed everywhere. And so you can truly carve out your own niche market in just about anywhere in this country, as we have up in Juneau, Alaska.
And I think aligning yourself with some of the professional organizations, I think I watched as Jason was finishing his school with interior design, he joined IDS. And, as a student member, I was really impressed with what they offered to him to kind of help fill in a few of the gaps that the school doesn't necessarily offer, just on kind of a day-to-day. This is kind of what happens in the day in the life of an interior designer. And it starts exposing them to, through their different organizations and their meetings, you get to go out and meet actual designers, and it puts you right in front of somebody else that you can ask those personal questions to, like, or actually maybe align yourself and get a job as an intern, with one of those people too. So I think the professional organizations are great.
Good. That's good to hear. And I know you're very well acquainted with one, the IDS. That's wonderful. So tell me about your thoughts about High Point. You've been here a couple of days. And I'm sure, as I know about your schedule a little bit, your time is not your own. You've been going from one to the next, and we appreciate your time here. What have you found? Have you gotten any vibe from this particular market that strikes you?
Well, color is definitely back. So long of the days of 50 Shades of Gray, essentially in neutral. So color is back in full force.
Oops, I'm in the wrong color. Sorry about that.
As am I.
I'm wearing enough for both
there
all of us here.
Oh my gosh! And I understand you were at Tom Felicia's 10th anniversary. Was that with?
Yes, with Vanguard Furniture.
Great. So I guess that was quite a party.
It was a great event, and to celebrate his successes. And then this particular market, I mean, each and every time that we come down to High Point, we strive to explore different areas and new areas of the city, essentially. And so this particular trip, we've gone outside a little bit. And so we visited Thayer Coggin, and that was just a phenomenal showroom and factory.
Find. Yeah. Yes, it was just incredible.
Well, it's a longtime personal friend of mine is Chris Coggin. So I spent some time in Thayer's house. I know the family pretty well. It is unique, isn't it? And Milo, you saw Milo's pieces, the Milo Bothans pieces. How did they, I mean,
they're iconic.
Yeah, they don't have there's no end
where
date.
all these other pieces of furniture were developed from. You
Yeah.
know? I mean,
Or
that
inspired
was
by.
Yeah, it was great.
Great. Oh yeah. Well, I'm sure you met Royal Wiggin, and then Phil Miller, I think, is over there as well. But he's the chief marketing guy. I'm not sure whether but I'm glad you said something about that. Thank you for visiting the outlying areas. We appreciate that.
I mean, you find yourself, you can kind of just keep walking back and forth in these couple 4 or 5 square blocks down here, and it can consume you. And you really just need to get in a car and get out of this core a little bit and just kind of explore. I think that was just absolutely a wonderful experience.
Wow. So we've got color is back. I like that. You visited High Point. That's a good thing. What's next for you? What's next on the docket? What's happening while you're here, and where you? I know you got to leave tomorrow, I think.
Tomorrow morning.
Right?
Yeah.
So things must be hopping. What's next on the docket for Bauer Clifton?
We've just have some exciting projects to return home to.
Yeah, it's they're in some design or parts of the project right now. So we'll be going back, and one will be, starting to take shape. So that'll be fun to kind of walk in on. And then there's a couple other ones that are in early design phases that we'll be jumping in and meeting with some clients, and you can kind of step away from the office and you kind of get inspired, and so that's really kind of fun to go that first day back when you get to look at the drawings again and this is the answer I've been looking for. So
I noticed on your website you have connections to some videos that you've done of installations and other things. Have you done other work with social media and maybe local filmmakers to kind of show what you do?
On the design side, interior design side, we really haven't.
Because I can see it. Believe me, I can see a TV show here. I really can see a TV show. You may not want to have that kind of great
exposure,
schedule,
perhaps.
He designs with conviction.
Yeah.
There you go. This is good. This is good. Oh my gosh. So you're going to go back this season for you.
So this is essentially our last trade show or market for this year, and so we'll be closing out this year, just bookkeeping, books, everything, everything that goes with running a business. And then we're gearing up and planning for January. So we've got Las Vegas Market as well as KBIZ.
KBIZ, that's right. I understand that's huge now. It's really growing.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's,
and then we'll be going to the Arts Awards down in Dallas, January 10th, I believe. That's the date there.
Great. Great. Super. We've got close friends that live here in High Point, Mark Phillips and Jason Phillips. I don't.
Oh yes, absolutely.
And they've gotten a couple of awards the last couple of years. So it should be a fun evening. And actually, we were talking earlier about Amy Kirstner, who I think received last Arts Award. I think she received something from there because I've still got the video. One of her castmates at Curry and Company with a telephone. She was screaming and yelling and jumping up and down, and so was the video. a little tough to watch, but they were happy. So, well, most gracious growth to you two, and I hope you continue to do what you're doing and just get better and better at it.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you again for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Design Between the Lines is produced by Element Studio with the International Society of Furniture Designers. We record in High Point, North Carolina. To find videos of these podcasts, be sure to subscribe to the International Society of Furniture Designers YouTube channel. To learn more about ISFD, visit isfd.org. And don't forget to subscribe to hear more industry stories of Design Between the Lines.